Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, if only cardboard was the weirdest thing they ever did. You look pale, my son. You must rest in the church. So the Nintendo Cartridge Society rests in the church with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. Do you know what I was thinking of the other day when we were recording? All right,
I don't know.
Say no more.
No, I want to know what
I want to know
what you were thinking about.
I could take a hint.
Just the other day.
Yeah, when we were recording on Monday. Is there, in regular life, just normal day-to-day life, is there anything more torturous than having to sit in a chair with like proper posture? Like sit, feet on the floor, like back straight, like not like slouching, not like putting one leg on your knee, not like, you know.
Yeah, I'm sitting on a chair right now, but I'm sitting cross-legged, like neither of my feet are on the floor.
Yeah. Because it's awful. It feels like...
When's the last time you were made to do that, though? When's the last time you had to do it?
Well, I guess never. But it's good for you, right?
I don't know.
You're supposed to have, like, good posture.
So are diet and exercise.
But this is what I mean.
You're supposed to have good posture,
This is what I mean, right? Is that I think human beings are not really meant to sit.
Right, yeah. Sitting is the new smoking, of course, we all know. Which means it's getting cool again.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Sitting is getting cool again.
Well, I think social media is probably the new sitting. Sitting's the new smoking.
Right. And smoking is back to being candy.
I think that is.
Oh no! But candy's not cool, is the thing.
Right. Well, what are we trying to figure out here?
We're trying to figure out what the status of smoking is right now.
Right.
Is smoking skateboarding? Cool.
Not a crime.
Not a crime.
Yeah.
Hazardous to your health.
I guess.
Surprisingly expensive.
Surprisingly expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe smoking is the new skateboarding, and skateboarding is the new.
Oh no. Let's see. Skateboarding is the new razor scootering.
See, here's where I think it falls apart. Is that skateboarding happened after smoking, right?
Right, but smoking lost its status.
Uh-huh.
So something had to replace it.
Yeah, smoking lost its status as
to skateboarding.
As the bad thing because people stopped doing it.
Right.
But then we were sitting all the time.
Right.
So that became the new smoking.
That's right.
And then social media became the new sitting.
Right. So now sitting has to be demoted to I guess what is sitting right now?
Well, I think sitting is the new smoking still.
No, but oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay. But social media maybe is just its own thing.
Interesting.
Because it's also bad for our brains.
Uh-huh.
And the rest of these things like don't really affect your brains.
Well, smoking probably does in some way, right?
Does it?
All that smoke trapped in there?
Sure. I mean, that is what happens. And then you can't think. There's so
think.
much smoke in your brain.
Yeah.
If you want to hear more great insights like this, you can head on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you're supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS at the Movies.
Yes, where Patrick, myself, and usually a special guest are going to the movies and then talking about them afterwards. We are going to be seeing The Devil Wears Prada 2 next weekend, and we have a special guest lined up that I'm super excited for. And
then we're going to see The Mandalorian and Grogu at the end of the month. We've got a guest lined up for that, which is also very exciting.
Yeah. We were talking last night that there are so many movies that are coming out this summer. So NCS at the Movies is going to be hot. You want to get in there.
Yeah. We So On Fire, right? Is that how that goes, singing hot? Do you know what I'm doing?
I think I do, but I don't. That's the only part of that song I know.
It's just the hot part.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I get it's hard to yes and that without knowing like any of the rest of it.
And isn't it feeling hot?
feeling. Maybe it is feeling hot, hot, hot.
I think it might be.
What did I say?
I can't
Being
remember.
hot, hot, hot.
Both can be true for us.
But you know where you could tell us which it actually is in the Discord. If you email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
At
@gmail.com,
gmail.com.
I will send you an invitation. You can hop in the Discord. You can chat with us about that song, which I can only assume is called Hot Hot Hot, or about anything in the world of Nintendo. There are a bunch of people there who are playing the latest Nintendo games, including Tomodachi Life and Pokemon Pokopia and all that kind of stuff.
I could see it being called something else with parentheses.
Hot, 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 yeah.
Or like the hot, hot, hot song.
Sure, right, yeah. The thong song is just called the thong song, right?
I think that's right. It could also be called Feeling Hot, Hot, Hot. Should I look it up? I'm just going to look it up.
Yeah, look it up. Look it up. We should know. We should know.
It is...
Uh-huh.
Okay, I think.
Yeah.
Called Hot, Hot, Hot. And here's a curveball. Parentheses, Arrow Song.
Arrow song?
According to Wikipedia.
Okay. You got the lyrics there too, or?
Oh, but I think it...
Do you think is that the right song?
Yeah,
Right.
it's possible it's not.
No,
but it's possible it is.
Feeling hot, hot, hot. Mark, I don't think we're gonna be able to figure this out.
I think it's just called Hot, Hot, Hot. I don't know why. Do you know what? Yeah, you're right.
We're not gonna be able to figure this out. There's just not
Somebody
enough
get
time.
in the Discord and help us.
Yeah, please get in the Discord and help us. But in the meantime, we are going to be celebrating LABO's 8th anniversary the only way we know how. Mark, let's get into it. Let's start talking about some odd applications of Nintendo hardware. I feel like this one warrants a lot of explanation and a lot because like this is a gut thing, right? We have both come in with lists of things that we feel are like LABO in the way that they handle Nintendo hardware, and that it's asking you to engage with the hardware in a different way.
Yeah, and I think sometimes because I would say that. Should we explain what LABO is? It's been 8 years. And
Yeah.
it burned bright for that 1 year, really that like 6 months maybe.
Right.
But LABO was a kit. So early in the Nintendo Switch's life, Nintendo was talking a lot about how outside of video games, they also wanted to introduce new ways for people to engage with their Nintendo Switch.
And kind of specifically with the Joy-Con, right? Because the Joy-Con are a, kind of marvel of technological engineering. They are capable of a lot of things that, don't, like gaming is sort of a restrictive application of them. They have this IR sensor. They have this incredibly sensitive vibration technology. Famously, how many ice cubes are in the
glass?
Are in the glass. And so they were promising / threatening to make things that were different ways to interact with both the Joy-Cons and the screen of the Switch.
And my sense of it is that Nintendo at the time really had the Nintendo Wii on its mind, right? Where it was like, Wii became so popular because it was more than just a standard video game system.
Right. But also like the DS as well, right? Like that's
totally.
another one, yeah.
And so anyways, in April of 2018, they introduced LABO, which were these kits that you would buy, and in them were these sheets of cardboard
with all these like perforated cutouts.
Yes.
That you did not need scissors. It was like you could just like punch them out, and then using the directions that provided to you on like a little game cart that were really well animated and like really clear and easy to follow. You constructed these various things that then interacted with both the Joy-Cons separated from the Switch and the Switch itself to deliver a bunch of different experiences. It launched with 2 sets, a variety pack, which included the piano.
Probably the coolest thing
ever.
Yeah, especially the Wii built with these. Yeah.
Totally. And then the other kit was a robot kit, which is like a robot suit that you would make almost certainly for a child. I think this is the only kit that between the two of us we never owned,
Yeah, I think that's right.
because a couple months later they released the vehicle kit, which the sort of centerpiece of that was like a driving wheel and a pedal.
That they updated Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to work with.
Yep. And then finally the VR kit, which
Yeah.
you owned the sort of like stripped down version of. There were like, it was released in two separate
Oh,
like
interesting.
versions of
I
it.
didn't even remember that. But yes, I did own one.
Yeah.
Famously to us, the one episode that we like recorded an episode about our experience with the Labo VR, and then immediately we're like, let's do that again because we were so bummed.
We were just it was a bummer of an experience.
Yeah.
And I believe it was one where like in the middle of talking, you gave me like the timeout time. We're like, we can't do this.
But we have a couple episodes about this, especially about the variety kit.
Yeah.
You know, we built it with your girlfriend Sarah and a friend of the show, Richie Root, and had a great time. Like, that initial variety kit was so cool. That piano that you could build was so cool, and Labo was such an out of the box, interesting idea that, you know.
Well, and like I just want to express like how the piano is achieving like what it does, because it's sort of emblematic of how the whole like endeavor was this like engineering marvel, because you would be, you know, you make the individual keys by like folding the cardboard as they say, but then like to make the action on it work, it's all like connected to little rubber bands that like you know, like snap back, and what's happening is it's like revealing reflective tape behind the key, and the reflective tape is read by the IR sensor on one of the Joy-Con to know what note you're playing. So, and then that comes out of the Switch itself. So it is like that's
incredible.
It's a miraculous thing.
Yeah, and imagine the amount of like R&D and trial and error it took to perfect those kits and then mass produce them.
Right, and then like basically leave it in the like foolproof it in a way that you can leave it in the hands of kids and general users, and that they can actually use it, like, and that it's a fun, engaging experience. You know, arguably the most fun you're ever gonna have with a Labo kit is putting it together.
100%.
You know, the vehicle kit was kind of cool in that like the game that came with it was you're like driving around an open space and like could interact with you know, like catch these 10 cows, or, you know, don't get hit by meteorites for 10 minutes or whatever. 10 minutes is too long. But so like you would be driving using the car wheel, and then you would need to switch over to the plane, and so you would just pop the Joy-Cons out and put them in like the plane control cardboard thing that hopefully you had made by that point, and then you'd just be flying. So like it's a really innovative gameplay experience, but it's a more innovative craft experience as far as I'm concerned. And I think like one of the cooler things that Nintendo did during the Switch generation that fits this category.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Of, like, falls outside of just playing games on your Switch.
And just to kind of like close the book on Nintendo Labo, like the story of Nintendo Labo. So yeah, like the first kit I think came out and there was a good amount of interest, but they never sold that well, seemingly. And
well, they also come with a tough price point too. They
Yeah.
were $80, I think, and the robot kit was $100. So like, you know, and of course you need the Switch. And I think like kind of the idea, and they were like donating some of these things to like children's museums and stuff like that. And like I think they wanted to get it in as like a little bit of an educational thing, but like Nintendo's commitment to that sort of stuff is always really half-hearted, and they've never really had success in the educational space, and so I think this was just like a sort of a repeat of that.
And I also think that, like, you know, this was released in 2018, so basically a little over a year after the Switch was released.
Right.
And so when they were working on this, there was no way that they would have known that the Switch was going to be as successful out of the gate as it was as a gaming machine.
Right.
And so, you know, the Switch was
right.
kind of unique where it didn't necessarily need those other ways to play,
Right.
because people were engaging with it primarily as a game system, and it was doing phenomenally based on that.
Right. I mean, it's also sort of you know, a little bit hampered by the idea that once the Switch Lights were released in 2019, right?
I think that's right.
That the Switch Lite is not compatible with LABO for the most part, because
Right.
it's a little bit different size and you can't take the Joy-Cons off.
And, LABO now, you can't use Switch 2, like you can't use Joy-Con 2
Yeah.
in the LABO kit. It will only fit the LABO, the first Joy-Con. The other thing I just wanted that was interesting with and I think maybe it was in the variety kit or maybe the vehicle kit. Do you remember like when we made a little car and you put the Joy-Con in it and
Yes.
it used the vibrations
Right, to move it around.
to move it around?
That was in the variety kit. Yeah. No, we like decorated that thing with like the stickers that were in the box and like colored it and like had a lot of fun with that. I think it says like NCS is stenciled on the top of it, and then there's like maybe like a frog face on it or something. Yeah, no, I mean it's a bunch of. Then there was like a fishing line.
Yeah, that's right.
That was very cool. Yeah, it's. I mean, there's not a lot of reason that you or I would have like interacted with the Labo much beyond building them, testing out the game provided with them once or twice, and then putting it away forever. But like that experience is cool. It's definitely not worth what they were asking for it.
I think you're right that ultimately it was like the putting of it together that was so fun because
Yeah.
you were like folding these pieces of cardboard and then seeing it come together and then actually work. Like again, we keep going back to the piano, was so incredible. I think that was one of the, and then the software that was included with it, with the vehicle kit, with that little open world game and stuff, it was never that compelling. And I think that was ultimately the problem with Labo VR, is that
Right.
it wasn't that fun to put together. It was pretty,
It's pretty bare
simple,
bones, yeah.
because it was just like a little headset, almost not that different from the one, like the cardboard version of the Virtual Boy.
But be careful here because we might be treading on.
Well, just to
yes.
say, like, not that different from that in its construction, and then it had some like little mini games you could play, but it just wasn't that interesting.
Yeah, well, those experiences were pretty bad, right? Like,
and I know Mario Odyssey was updated to support it in
and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker,
Uh-huh.
which like all these things are like neat, novel experiences, but like almost categorically not experiences that you could pour a lot of time into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that may end up being the story of a lot of the things that we're about to talk about today. That like the novelty kind of outweighs the actual usefulness or fun of some of these innovations.
For sure.
But yes, it's been 8 years since Labo was thrust upon us, since we welcomed Labo into...
gifted to us.
Yes, that's right. So we thought that we would just come up with a couple different ways in which Nintendo asks you to interact with its hardware that is not expressly just play some games.
Yep.
And so typical NCS, we have come to the table with 3 to 5 examples of this. Mark, I will go first.
Great.
Because the very first thing that I thought about with this, and some of this, like I'm about to mention some like peripherals, and I feel like that's also like kind of part of this.
Yes, for sure.
Like
I think it's such a fine line.
Yeah, totally. But like, is the peripheral allowing you to play a game, or is the peripheral making you interact with the whole thing in a different way? Which is why my first entry is the Game Boy camera and the Game Boy camera
This is on
printer.
my list too.
Yes. What a cool thing. 1998.
Did you
Yeah.
own one, and did you own a printer too?
Yes, I owned both. I owned the camera and the printer. It was a green Game Boy camera to match my green Game Boy Pocket, and it's a Game Boy camera. You're taking pictures in black and white with your Game Boy, and like you can do a couple things with the pictures once you take them.
Just to describe real quick, so it's
Yes.
basically like sitting on, there's like a camera that looks like an old school webcam. It's like circular,
Right.
And it could swivel
It's an
360
orb, yes.
degrees. Yeah, it's like an orb.
No, not true. It could only do
180.
180
degrees,
right.
And but it's that like mechanism is basically attached to a Game Boy game cart,
Right.
And that would slide into your system,
Right,
so
so
it'd
it's
sit on,
basically
like, top.
sticking up. Yes, on
So it's
on top of the
compatible
Game
with
Boy.
all Game Boy models, I guess, except for the
Except
micro.
the micro, yeah. But also that would look insane if you ever
It'd be
tried to
bigger,
put
probably.
it would be way bigger, yeah. And also isn't that slot on the bottom?
Yeah, I think it is.
So anyway, but the yes, so they made this thing, and you could use the Game Boy Link cable to connect it to the printer, which was one of those. It's like printing a receipt, right? Where it's just like the hot. It's not ink.
Yeah, it's a, what do they call it? Thermal printer.
Thermal printer, yes.
Yeah.
So it needed a special like paper as well, that you could print photos onto these.
And it
Yeah,
and
this roll of paper.
the paper was like sticky back, so you could like
Yes.
peel off
You
the
could make
back
them
of it,
stickers,
and then
right.
you could make it stickers and put it on whatever.
And like as you're taking these pictures, you can mark them up. Like there's like a little art studio in there, so you can either put like little stamps on it or draw directly on the pictures. But one of the like more compelling things was that you could set the game face, which would allow you to take a picture of yourself or someone else's face. And there were like 4 different panels because it wanted you to grab the face in 4 different expressions. And then that you could set as your game face. And game face shows up in the little mini games that are like included in this pack, including like a reiteration of Ball, the Game and Watch game Ball. So instead of it being like Mr. Game and Watch's face, it's like your face or someone else, and they're like making like concentrated face as it like tries to go for longer. There's a sort of like Space Invaders-esque shooter that like a boss character is using the game face. There's a DJ feature in there where you are
the DJ, or
the
a
or
face is the
someone.
DJ.
Yes, game face is the DJ. So like there were just so many different uses of like the assets of the Game Boy camera.
Do you know what I was thinking about when like I was putting my notes together for this? Is that this idea kind of came back with the 3DS and Face Raiders?
Yeah. Yeah,
Had, like
totally.
built-in software where you would use the 3DS cameras to take a photo of like your face or somebody else's face,
Yeah.
and then it would put it on like NPCs in the game or enemies or whatever it was.
I sort of just remember like your face being on a like an orb with a propeller on it.
Yeah, because you're like yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Was that an AR game?
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it was.
Weird stuff on basically anytime a camera gets involved in Nintendo stuff. It's so like interesting that like Nintendo was very early to this, like, oh yeah, the portable device should have a camera, that like they would come back to on the DS and obviously the 3DS, and like all of that kind of presages having a camera on your phone,
Right.
And
I was reading that they were planning at some point in development, they had one for the Game Boy Advance, but obviously that didn't live long enough for them to ever release
that
it.
makes
And it was
sense.
going to like connect to your GameCube.
That's cool.
Like you'd be able to, because with the Game Boy camera, you were able to do something similar in Japan with the Nintendo 64 DD. You could
Right. You could import the pictures.
You could import the
Right.
pictures and then use it in like the Mario Artists games.
So there's also like nothing like the hyperpixelated black and white images produced by the Game Boy camera. It's just so hot. I love it so much. I wish I had one now.
There were also other games like Pokemon, like in Pokemon Yellow, even if you didn't have the Game Boy camera, but for some reason you had the printer, you could print every Pokedex entry.
Oh, that's
like
great.
you could just like print them. Like, so there were different games that supported just like, oh, if you have a printer, you can connect it and then you can print like whatever from this game on it. I never owned a Game Boy camera, but there was like in like 5th and 6th grade for PE, there would be a unit where we did swimming.
Yeah.
And there was no pool at my school, but there was one at like the junior high. The junior high was like connected to a community center basically.
Yeah.
And so we would take the bus, like Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever, to go to the pool. And the kid I sat by had a Game Boy camera, and I thought it was just the coolest thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and there's, it obviously can only hold a limited number of pictures and they're of poor quality, but something about like It's so, we can take infinite number of pictures and movies and stuff on our phones now, and like it doesn't feel special at all. But like, a friend of the show, Connor McCabe, has a Game Boy camera, and for one of his parties, he had it out and was just like taking pictures of people. That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Well, and like you said, especially before digital cameras
Right.
or anything like that, like as a kid, maybe you would have a point and shoot camera, maybe or like a disposable camera or something.
But then you
to
would
be able
forget about it.
well, and like you had to get it developed and all
Right,
this kind of
yes.
stuff. But like to have a way to like take pictures, do something silly with them, immediately print it out, all that kind of stuff. It was very cool.
Yeah, I miss that stuff. Why is there no camera on the Switch, Mark? I guess there's like they sell a camera now.
Now they do for the Switch too.
And I think we both own.
Yes, that I used for Welcome Tour.
Oh, yes.
And have not used for anything else, I don't think.
I have actually used mine for game chat.
But interesting,
One time.
but interesting that they haven't. Maybe not that interesting, but notable that there is no like built-in face raiders or anything like that.
Yeah,
there's game
right.
chat, but there is no like game experience.
Yeah, that's
built in.
Yeah,
but maybe because the camera is optional. Like you don't have to. It's not built into the system.
Yeah, but even still, like there could be a game that you download as, and I guess like they did try to, like that's what Super Mario Party Jamboree,
right?
Like, the Bowser TV, a lot of it is camera based games. So I guess there actually was that, but like, I've complained about that package before, but like, do you want someone to pay $80 who didn't buy Mario Party Jamboree just to play like a couple of crappy camera-based games? I don't think so. But anyway, yes, the Game Boy camera and printer is, I guess, our collective first entry.
Yeah, that's such a fun one.
I wonder how much overlap we are going to have just as we go here, because like it is a little difficult, right? Because I didn't want to just do I didn't want to be like the NES Zapper, like that's
yes.
That's...
Yeah, I agree. I do have. Well, I'll go next.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about Ring Fit Adventure because I feel like the Ring Con,
yes,
where you would put the Joy-Con into it and then the leg strap, like were such a cool innovation, seemingly a one-off. At least so far, and we never got a sequel on the Switch or anything. But I went back. So Ring Fit Adventure, again, this game at this point is, like over a decade or half a decade old. It released in 2019, in like October of 2019. And
man, the end of Nintendo's 2019 is that was such a cool year for them.
Yeah, that was a cool year.
Like no huge games really.
But I mean, but it turned out that in fact they were, because
Adventure, yes.
You had Ring Fit Adventure, you had Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, that's true.
Have sold over 15 million copies.
Yeah, great point.
Plus that year you had Fire Emblem Three Houses,
Link's Awakening, Astral Chain.
Yeah,
like
it was crazy.
There were a lot of like really cool. Like if that lineup came to us this year, we'd be like, wow.
yeah. So yeah, Ring Fit Adventure, if you've never played it before, it was a fitness game, but different from like Wii Fit, where it came in like a giant box, because inside the box is this Joy-Con, which is like a rubber, like a ring.
Yeah, the Ring Con.
Yeah, yes. The Ring Con. And so you would put a Joy-Con in there, and then you would use the Ring Con in the game, which was kind of like an RPG. So you would be running through a space or working through a space, and it would ask you to do different things. So maybe you'd be running and you want to destroy some crates over there, so you would squeeze the Ring Con, and it would sense that you were squeezing it. It would like shoot out a
gust of air.
And then if you encountered enemies, you would take turns fighting each other by like doing exercises.
Yeah, you would do like a little exercise routine, and your success rate in like doing the things in the routine, be they like yoga poses or like ab exercises or like kind of like step up kicks
and like that sort of
thing.
Yeah,
exactly. That you would deal different amounts of damage to the enemies. They all have like weakness types where like blue is the leg exercises, so you want to use leg exercises against the blue guys. And like that's all. Yeah, like the game of it was pretty shallow. But
I would say successful in what it was.
I agree.
Trying to do, which was to get you to move and to exercise, because I was really skeptical of Ring Fit Adventure when it was first announced.
Totally.
I went back and watched the kind of like reveal trailer for Ring Fit Adventure because I remembered it being really weird, and it is super weird. It's like there's two actors that are explaining Ring Fit Adventure, and it's very Stepfordy. Like it's very
Oh yeah.
I actually watching it now. I'm like, oh, like I would believe that this was AI generated if that was a thing back in 2019. Like it's uncanny. They're
Weird.
whatever direction they were given was truly bizarre. Like it's a weird video to watch even now. So at the time I was like zero interest in this, whatever. And then COVID happened and Ring Fit Adventure became a phenomenon.
Right.
And so I did buy it maybe from a third party. Like I can't, because there was a time where it was hard to get them because they
That's
weren't
right.
in stock.
Yeah. I know that was going for like, 3 or 4 times the like list, which was already, it was an $80 item, right? Because
Yeah.
it came with the ring con and the strap.
But the ring con is genuinely really cool.
Yeah.
And you got a really good workout for doing Ring Fit Adventure.
Yeah, sometimes a little too good of a workout, right? Like I would say that there were times where it wasn't totally like calibrated for like there's no real difficulty curve. It's kind of just like do the exercises.
Yeah.
And especially like early in your journey with it, like it could really be kicking your butt and making you sore. But I know I enjoyed a period where I was doing it, if not every morning, like every other morning, and like felt pretty good about the workout I was getting from it.
It also introduced us to Drago.
It did introduce us
who's
to Drago,
the hot, muscly dragon in a singlet.
yeah, which is just exactly what you want him to be, right?
He's like the big bad of the story mode. But yeah, just like a really cool innovation. Another one where when it was first announced, I was like super skeptical, but then once you get your hands on it, you're like, wow, it's really pretty incredible what they were able to pull off with this.
Do you think they're like planning another one of these? Like it seems like it would be insane not to, like now that because you can't use Joy-Con 2 in a ring con, so like, but you could presumably still use your old Joy-Con. You just have to charge them on something else,
Right.
But like that sort of necessarily makes
Yeah, I wonder.
yeah,
Because like if they are going to do a sequel,
Yeah.
or like do a new one for Switch 2, or like a Switch 2 edition or something, I wonder, because part of me feels like maybe the lesson that they learned from Wii Fit Plus, and like when they were doing
yeah.
is that the one that was called that on the Wii U, or was that the second one on Wii?
I think it was the second one on Wii, but
whatever. Like because I just wonder if they
see any value in it.
If the takeaway from that was like, instead of trying to do that again, let's come up with the next Ring Fit Adventure. Like,
Yeah, I mean but the difference is, and like yes, if it's like Ring Fit Adventure, but like it's themed differently, and like the actual controller isn't like a ring, a resistance ring, it's something else. That's fine. But like the basic format of like here's an RPG that you play by doing exercises, I think is too good of a hook. Like incentivize people to exercise with gameplay. That's what like that's what everyone is trying to do, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think it seems like they for sure see the value in it, not just sales wise, but aren't they the publisher of some of those fitness boxing games in the US?
Yeah.
Like, so yes. It seems like a no-brainer to me that there will be something of that kind on the Switch 2, even if it's not the return of the Joy-Con. Or the Ring Con. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's way more likely than, say, the return of LABO, for example.
Oh, totally.
All right. So my second pick here is going to be the Switch Flip Grip. Not actually a Nintendo product, but
yes.
So the created by Fangamer and like championed by Jeremy Parrish.
I think
is he
possibly
part of,
yeah,
he's like on the team that like made this thing happen. But the Switch Flip Grip, I think is born out of mostly the hamster games.
Yeah, the arcade archives.
The arcade archives that allowed you to play the games either in always in their original aspect ratio, but if because a lot of those old arcade games are using vertical monitors instead of a horizontal one, which just meant that like the screen image is taller, and that's way that's super apparent in games like Punch Out or Space Invaders, where like the tallness of the screen is Pac-Man is
Or like
another
those
one.
classic like shmups, like
Yeah, absolutely.
1942 or whatever
Yep.
it's called.
And so like they allow you to play the games that way, but there's really no the like big black bars on top and bottom. You can rotate the image 90 degrees, but like then you just sort of have to prop your Switch up against something. So Fangamer and Jeremy Parrish were like, no, wait, there should be a grip where you can just rotate your thing and then the Joy-Cons like slide into the rails on the flip grip and let you play that way. Which I never owned one of these, and now I feel like I A, missed out, and B, did they make a flip grip for a Switch 2?
No, I don't think so.
We should have one.
Yeah, we need like a nephew or something to 3D print one for us.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, it just a cool way to like access the that different aspect ratio perspective thing. And also I think like maybe a little bit a key to how you could put dual screen games on
Totally.
on the Switch and Switch 2, to just like divide that real estate in half and just make the top screen, the bottom screen. But yeah, kind of weird that Nintendo never offered a product like this, right?
Yeah, or that there wasn't one outside of like this fan created, like I don't think you could just walk into a Best Buy
Right. Yes.
and buy, it wasn't like licensed by Hori or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And why not?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add, because we were talking about this in the Discord a couple weeks ago, on the subject of being able to play dual screen games on the Switch or Switch 2. One thing that and maybe this also falls into like, here's another way to interact with the hardware, is that they're pushing game share on Switch 2 with a lot of their first party games and a lot of even third party games. But one thing that does, because it's just streaming the game to another Switch, is that if you have another Switch in your house, and a lot of people who have a Switch 2 do own another Switch in some form or fashion, that you could, the thing that I, sort of fantasized about, of like having a way to broadcast, in my mind, it was always to broadcast the top screen to the TV while holding the Switch 2 in your hands. But you could very easily do the reverse of have the bottom screen be your Switch 1 that is accessing the game via game share, and your Switch 2 is in the dock, and the top screen is
that's interesting.
Is just the TV, or you could have it set up in tabletop mode or whatever. The screens wouldn't even have to be physically connected,
Yeah.
because they have this game share technology.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I honestly, now that Virtual Boy has come out, and it's like, no, the only way to play this is in this like peripheral, it makes me think that if they decide to ever put dual screen games on, that they might just be like, no, this is only in handheld mode. Like,
oh sure, only in handheld mode, and like straight up in like with a flip grip style thing, or just
no, not even. I mean,
just
possibly,
side by side?
but I think you could do it like side by side potentially.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
flip grip.
Flip grip, cool invention. Wish Nintendo had officially licensed one.
All right, my next pick.
Yes.
This is also one that I've never owned because it was never released outside of Japan. I'm talking, of course, about the Nintendo 64 biosensor.
Okay.
So this was a Japan exclusive, packaged with exactly one game, the Tetris 64. And it plugged into the controller expansion port on the back of your Nintendo 64 controller. So
of course,
is where like the memory,
who needs a
rumble
pack?
Go. Yes, who needs a rumble pack? Like that's where those would plug in, and you would plug this biosensor there, and then coming out of the bottom of the biosensor pack is a cord with a little clip, and you clip it to your ear to measure your heart rate when you wanted to play Bio Tetris mode in Tetris 64. So Bio Tetris mode,
please,
offers two variations. There's the normal mode, which basically what happens is that the biosensor is sensing your heart rate thanks to the thing that thanks to the sensor that you've clipped to your earlobe.
Right.
And then in normal mode, there's these smaller, what they called biotetraminos that would drop when the player's heart rate is low, and they'd be like simple shapes if you were keeping your heart rate low. But if your heart rate went up, they would start dropping like more complex and more difficult shapes.
Seems like it should be the other way around.
Well, there was also reverse.
Oh, okay, good.
Which the complexity of the shapes went down as your heart rate increased. I love the idea of this biosensor, and I think it's such a shame that it never got more utility. Imagine playing Resident Evil 2 on your Nintendo 64 and the game reacting to your pulse
To your heart
quickening.
rate.
Uh-huh.
Well, but I mean, you will recall, Mark, I'm sure, the vitality sensor that was shown off at E3 2009, which would have been like a Wii accessory that like kind of did the same thing or like offered the same kind of experience. A product that they never ended up putting out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you can see pictures of one like connected to the back of a Wii remote. It's a very like interesting thing that Nintendo for a time was like, yeah, we wanna be able to like read how people are emotionally and physically reacting.
They announced it as like a new initiative for the company. This quality of life is what they kind of called it, and it would be referred to in investor filings or when they were asked about it at investor Q&As, but nothing ever came of it except maybe the Alarmo. If we really
great point, yeah,
want to plant the seeds for the Alarmo like all the way back there. I don't know that that's actually like if there's any truth to that, but yes, it was something that Iwata was asked about all the time that they were talking about, and I think there was somebody on the record that was basically saying that they could never get it, whatever they were working on, to be reliable for enough people for it to be something that they like continue to pursue. So eventually it just went away.
Which, you know, like all that kind of biometric stuff like is going to be totally different for every person, and like, you know, sensitivities to those things are going to be different for everyone as well. So it is kind of like, yeah, and also like tell me what's fun about this, Nintendo, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I think like that's the real issue.
But I mean, if we are taking Alarmo as an example of what that could be, it would be interesting to see what is Nintendo's take on a health and fitness device.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Like a Fitbit, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, if there's a Nintendo Fitbit, you know, God help us. You think it'd be able to track my steps for Pikmin Bloom?
I do.
I think it better be able to play Pikmin Bloom all on its own. That's a great pick, Mark. My entry here is in the form of a question. Is it too early to say the Virtual Boy peripheral for the Switch?
No, I think it's an example that will age quite well.
Yeah, and it's so strange and of such limited utility. Cool that it means that it allows them to release Virtual Boy games that were never released before. I guess they've said that they're going to. It hasn't happened yet. But and that it demands that you have this thing, or the cardboard version, I suppose, in order to play these games. I suppose you could play it in handheld mode and just like hold it up in front of your face. Well, it can't sense if it's actually in like the thing that cradles it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't think you'd be able to.
It won't let you do it on.
It won't let you do it on
mode.
the TV, but You're right. If it is, I don't know that it can tell that it's cradled in anything or not.
Yeah,
I don't know how it would.
And it's really just like a plastic thing with like a view window that allows you to.
Right, because on the Switch or Switch 2, the windows are like it's tiny.
It's so small.
It's so small. And there's two of them because when you're looking through, it has like polarized lenses.
Well, they just
to
say
make
it's
it be the 3D.
two screens. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's maybe a kind of a straightforward thing, but like it's just such a bizarre product that they sell and ask you to interact with this way.
Yeah, and unlike some of the other stuff that Nintendo that sells out, like there was a while where it was really difficult to get Nintendo 64 controllers for Nintendo Switch Online and all that kind of stuff. The Virtual Boy is just something that they're continuing to offer, and is something that people pay for as part of their subscription. And so it seems like they just have to keep selling those peripherals
Yeah.
for as long as they intend to support it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Which is just so interesting to me because the Virtual Boy is so niche. It also maybe is a mark against the possibility that they would present a Nintendo DS or a Nintendo 3DS game like in a unconventional way of like putting it side by side on a screen or something like that. Because clearly with the Virtual Boy, they're like, no, the way you're going to experience Virtual Boy games is like a Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
We're going to let you change the color in the future, but you're not playing these on the TV. Like none of that. Like you're experiencing this like a Virtual Boy. You're looking through
you have
a little
to be hunched over.
Yeah. No, even if you're not hunched over and you're holding the thing to your face, you're going to be uncomfortable. That's part of the Virtual Boy experience.
Right. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not playing Virtual Boy.
And so it makes me think that like for Nintendo DS games and Nintendo 3DS games, if they aren't going to remake them and just be like, no, we're presenting those games, would they want to preserve the integrity of that experience? Although I guess they've been on Wii U and that wasn't a concern, so maybe not.
Right. Well, and on Wii U, they would do like there were a couple different ways that you could play them. They would do the like screen side by side, or you could have them like on top of each other. But you could also do, the bottom screen is the Wii U gamepad and the top screen is the TV. Because it's already broadcasting that way. But yeah, if they just recreated that, then you could put DS, 3DS, and Wii U games on, if not the subscription Nintendo Classics, like sell them separately or whatever. And is like, I think literally the only hope for getting dual screen games to carry over into the future.
Yep.
But also everyone has another screen device thing that you could pair with your Switch. And like, I do think that the game share technology is like, if not aiming for that it is a happy accident, and something that they can really use that for. But so yeah, the Virtual Boy, and I guess the reason that I feel totally comfortable counting this as like, not just a different way to like play a game, is that like the joys of the Virtual Boy, some of it is in gameplay, but you're also revisiting a moment in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And an experience that had been locked in 1995. Yeah, it's less about playing a game. Although I recommend everyone play Virtual Boy Wario Land.
All right, so I have one final pick.
Only one final pick.
One final pick.
I got two more.
Okay. All right, my final pick is the Life Fitness Life Cycle Exertainment Exercise Bike.
Yes, the combo Exertainment Exercise Bike.
Yes, the combo exercise bike and Super Nintendo. From the company called Life Fitness, quote, "The Exertainment system is the first and only combination cycle trainer and Super Nintendo system."
It's really too bad. If they were to release one of those right now, I would be interested.
So it came in two different models.
Uh-huh.
There was the Life Cycle Bike 3500, where you connected your Super Nintendo to it. But then there was the top of the line for fitness clubs, Life Cycle Bike 9XS.
Whoa.
Where the Super Nintendo was built into
the
system.
Where's the cartridge slot? Under the seat?
Well, there were only 2 games that supported it.
Oh, okay.
And they were custom made for this experience. So you couldn't play like Star Fox or something.
So they were good.
But it had on the like bike handles, it had controllers of a sort. So like one had like a D-pad on it, and then the other one had buttons, right? Like buttons, that you could control with. So the 2 games, Exertainment Speed Racer and Exertainment Mountain Bike Rally.
Okay.
The Speed Racer is a car game, and by moving the pedals as fast as possible, you can like boost your vehicle.
Right, just like how real cars work.
The second one, Mountain Bike Rally, it will not surprise you to learn that it works very similarly, where it's a bike racing game, and you move the pedals, you pump the pedals as fast as possible to make your bike go faster, and then you're steering using the controls that are on the handlebars.
Nintendo should have like worked up a partnership with like Peloton or something that you could like hook your Switch up to a Peloton and like play games
Right, you're
on
riding
that.
around like Woohoo Island or something.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. I have a picture of
Please.
the life cycle bike 9XS, and you can still find some of these online. People will be selling them for like $9,000 or something like
Yeah,
that.
sure.
But yeah, just a fun, like so many of these things. I think it's a total chicken and egg problem. Like, yeah, there's not going to be that many games for it because unless you sell a ton of them, there's no
Right.
reason to. And because there's not that many games and it's a Super Nintendo, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So
When
why would people want to spend so much money for it?
when did that come out? Do you have the year on
Oh,
that?
no, I don't.
Because I would be willing to bet that that came out like way too late in the. Although like exercise bike, it's like kind of cool again now, but like I think it had a moment in like the 1980s
Yes,
where it was
for
very
sure, for sure.
popular. So maybe it did come a little bit earlier in the Super NES's life cycle.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell.
That's a great pick regardless. And like is the kind of that stuff of like Nintendo uh mythology, right? Like that's the kind of peripheral where it's like I feel like you'll never see one in real life. You never knew someone who had one.
Right.
Um, but and yet it was real. It's not like a Power Glove, right? Power Glove, that was a real object that people actually owned.
Yes, uh-huh.
In that handball game, like that's those were real things. This was real too, just not anything that anyone I know has ever touched.
Sold for $2,000 when it released. So even at
Jeez.
the time, very, very expensive.
And do we know when that time was?
No, I'm trying.
It's okay. It's okay. I know that that is a hard thing to Google. I've tried to prepare to talk about it.
The
on the show before.
Exertainment bike, maybe this will help.
Yeah.
The Exertainment bike was featured in an article in Nintendo Power Volume 73 in June 1995.
Okay, so that is late.
Yeah.
Because June 1995, first of all, right around the time of the release of the Virtual Boy.
Uh-huh.
So everyone knows the Super NES is on its way out. And then, the Nintendo 64 comes out just a little over a year later in
But
September.
only 4 years into the life of the system.
Yeah.
Just the life was so short.
Mark, life is so short. My next entry, I make the Game and Watches a little bit of a pet project of mine. But there's like a sort of offshoot of that, and it's the watch Game and Watches. So these were all developed and made by a company called Nelson, and they had like a series of these, LCD games that were literally on a watch. And they partnered with a bunch of different video game and just like IP holders, right, to make these games. And they made a bunch of Nintendo titles from 1989 to 1994. And some of them are like the titles are, straight up Nintendo games, right? The Legend of Zelda. They made a Legend of Zelda watch in 1989. And I feel like that is the quintessential like one of these, right, that people know about the Legend of Zelda one. There's also a Super Mario Brothers one that came out the same year, that had a headphone jack in case you really wanted to be listening to the music that this horrible little Game and Watch was producing. But Mark, get this. They put out a pair of games in 1990 that are called and separate watches, right? Little LCD watches. Luigi's Hammer Toss and Princess Toadstool's Castle Run. These were available in Japan under the names just Luigi and Peach at McDonald's. You could buy these watch games at McDonald's. And the Hammer Toss one is a little bit like the Game and Watch game Fireman, where like someone is throwing a hammer and Luigi has to like go under it to catch it and like throw it back up in the air and like guide it to the other side. And the Peach one, she's basically running into the distance and like bad guys come at her. And so you just have to, she's on one of 3 tracks, left, center, or right. And the bad guys come at you in those positions and you just have to be wherever they aren't. And that's those games. Both of those are the first time that those characters were the sole playable character in
Wow.
a video game.
That's pretty good trivia.
So yeah, if someone wants to come at you with like Mario is missing or Luigi's Mansion or whatever, Luigi's Hammer Toss was the original from 1990. Other games that they put out a Tetris game also in 1990 that people seem to actually really like. It got good reviews. Then there's a Super Mario Brothers 3 in 1990, a Super Mario Brothers 4 in 1991.
Okay, wow.
I think it was like the Watch's adaptation of Mario World. It too has a headphone jack. There's a Super Mario Race, presumably predating Mario Kart, or maybe like contemporaneous but not called Mario Kart. There was a Star Fox game released in Europe under the name Starwing in 1993. So if you can imagine a LCD version of Star Fox that you're playing on your tiny watch on your wrist, there was that. And then the last one they did is in 1994 they put out a Donkey Kong game. And now I covet all of these.
I'm looking at on eBay. There's a listing for the Tetris one, and it's going for $1,000.
Yep.
And it has a little illustration of like a Cossack dancing on top of the Tetris logo.
Perfect.
With the tagline "From Russia with fun."
I mean, not a bad tagline.
Yeah, and I can see why it would get good reviews. It looks sick.
Yeah, and like, why not have Tetris on your watch?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Can you get Tetris on your Apple Watch?
I don't think so. I don't think games are really a thing on Apple Watch.
It's good that Tim Cook is retiring. Get someone in there that'll put Tetris on the Apple Watch. Yeah, I mean these are all so dope and like cool looking. And the games all look basically impossible to play, and I'm certain that they're all less responsive. And when one of the things that we discovered during our Game and Watch month now years ago is that all those games are like, not all of them, but a lot of them are surprisingly playable. And I think that comes down to the sort of like precision of Nintendo and like the programming of those things. I doubt that these games have any of that sort of precision and like just sticky gameplay feel to them. But it is also a watch that you wear on your wrist.
It is funny when you're describing, like, because I agree with you, like that was one of the great discoveries of Game and Watch. So it's like, oh, a lot of these are just like distilled down to the very essence of a single thing that you would do in a video game.
Yes.
And like when you're describing the Peach watch where she's running on one of 3 tracks, it's like that is still a video game like
totally
activity that you see all the time in games.
Well, and is the sort of like one of the like quintessential like brain rot like, what is that? You know what I'm talking about?
Infinite Runner type things?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's a type of game that still exists today.
Yeah.
But Princess Toadstool's Castle Run and Luigi's Hammer Toss, 2 Nintendo game titles I don't think I had heard or seen before.
No.
But now we know them forever. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention, and I wish I had more experience with this, and I wish that I had engaged with it when we played the game several years ago, but Kid Icarus Uprising had a functionality with a lot of AR cards. We mentioned a little bit the augmented reality features of the 3DS earlier in this conversation, but one of the things that the AR functionality could do is it could recognize images and then have that be input into a game that you're playing. And because Masahiro Sakurai is Masahiro Sakurai, he was like, that will be a core component of my Kid Icarus game. It is obviously not a remembered feature of this game. Do you know about this?
No. How did it work?
So they sold like little packs, like booster packs, whatever, of these cards, and so you could scan them via the 3DS's camera, and it recognized what the card was, and then would give you various like bonuses when you like went into levels. Or
it's like proto amiibo.
It's absolutely proto amiibo, which like again, Sakurai is Mr. Amiibo, right? Like amiibo basically wouldn't be like a function or form to them without Smash 4. And then, like he's the guy who gets to have, 7 amiibo for Kirby Air Riders. that are, this like weird Frankenstein thing of the car and the rider. But yeah, so that's it was basically just another way to like trigger special events or power ups or whatever.
Yeah. I never engaged with it on my 3DS, but because am I remembering right that there was also just kind of like a feature you could do where if you had one of those cards or some of those cards, you would scan it in the augmented reality mode, and the figure of like a character would appear on top of it and just kind of like move around.
Yes.
Do that sort of thing.
Well, and so this is how it would present itself in Kid Icarus, is that like you would scan the card, and then the creature would like, or whatever the character was on the card would like jump up out of the card.
Yeah.
And then bestow upon you whatever boon or challenge that the card did in the game. But yeah, what a bizarre, like they knew they had something with augmented reality, but didn't really know how. It's something that seems fun until you're like, then I got to carry these cards with me,
Right.
on the 3DS in particular. But yeah, I remember, a couple months ago that I had downloaded all of the cards because I was like, oh yeah, I want to try this, and then never actually did. But I've got like a PDF somewhere on my computer of just like images of all the cards.
Oh, because you could just scan.
It just needs to see them, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like there's very little reason to have the cards if you can have something that looks like the cards. But yeah, so that's my last thing is the Kid Icarus Uprising AR cards. Mark, any further thoughts about these weird ways to interact with Nintendo hardware?
Only that I don't know what form it's going to take, but I believe we're going to get something on Switch too. That is going to be really wacky.
Yeah, well, and like because we haven't really yet,
Right?
And like the mouse Joy-Con, like that feels like it's close, like we're brushing up against some kind of functionality like this.
Yeah, but it's always like an additional thing, not built in.
Yeah.
Weirdness. So I'm excited to see what that turns out to be, and maybe we're right around the right time for it, because it was about a year, little over a year.
That's
when
true.
LABO came into our lives. So maybe we're primed for something on Switch too.
What if that's all that the June Direct is whatever the new
Yeah.
People would riot. All right, Mark, let's close this conversation.
Like a rock tumbler.
That you just throw and it smooths out your Joy-Con too.
Yeah.
All right, let's close this out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much to our 16-bit patrons, Connor McCabe, Kyle Seaborn, Drew Mackey, and Anthony Lowbridge Ellis. Join our Discord if you're not there already. Email us. We'll send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8BitBetty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.